You want me to put that on my todger?
Harry's wife. Kate, keep your nose out. News that has appeared from something called Soap Spoiler, no, me neither, and an article written by Bernice Emmanuel tells us Harry's wife wants to reach out to Kate Middleton about this. So there is some suggestion that Harry's wife is going to hoover the Princess of Wales. What is a hoover? Well, a hoover is a direct assertion of control by the narcissist for the purposes of asserting control over an individual and possibly drawing fuel from them, possibly gaining a residual benefit. So, for example, a narcissist might contact a friend and start off pleasantly, asking how they are and seeking a favour. They're looking to assert control over their friend. They're looking to draw fuel by way of the friend's response, and they're wanting to borrow some money from that friend. That friend, therefore, is providing a residual benefit. A hoover can come in lots of different shapes and forms. It can be, for example, by the narcissist turning up in person. It might be that they turn up and are polite to you. They might threaten somebody. They may use physical violence. All of those are different types of hoovers. It might be that the narcissist contacts you electronically by email, social media message, telephone call. It could be that something is placed upon their own social media which is directed at you, sometimes obviously, sometimes less so. A hoover could be a note wrapped round a brick. It can also be a hoover by proxy, where the narcissist causes somebody else to contact the victim in order to get one of the prime aims. Sometimes this is done explicitly to instruction. So the narcissist says to that lieutenant, I need you to contact my ex and explain this to her. More usually, the lieutenant or member of the coterie does it of their own volition as a consequence of the belly aching or anger or pity play that has been demonstrated by the narcissist. In order for a hoover to take place, the relevant person in the fuel matrix, here the non-intimate secondary source, which is the Princess of Wales, has to come up on Harry's wife's radar. This is what is known as the hoover trigger. There are bound to be repeated hoover triggers with regard to the Princess of Wales. Why? Well, Harry might make mention of her. Members of her staff might make mention of her. She could just pop up in Harry's wife's mind because she is, after all, the nemesis. But more likely, coverage of the Princess of Wales in terms of talking about the places that she's been, praise about her fashion, etc., will cause her to pop up on Harry's wife's radar. This means that there is a possibility that a hoover may take place, and there are bound to be many of these hoover triggers. Whether a hoover takes place depends on the hoover execution criteria. Essentially, these cover things such as, what's this person's position in the fuel matrix? How easy is it to hoover them? Can a text message be sent, or would one have to get onto a plane and fly to another continent? Has this appliance wounded the narcissist, and if so, how extensive was that wounding and how recent was it? Are there residual benefits that are sought from them? Have they got a restraining order in place? Is the narcissist with someone new in a romantic setting? Is the victim with somebody new in a romantic setting? And other considerations beside. Some of those factors make it less likely that a narcissist will hoover you. Some mean it's more likely. And they're taken in aggregate, subconsciously analysed by the narcissism to make a determination as to whether a hoover ought to take place. If it does, the hoover is attempted using a variety of different methods. If the narcissism decides that a hoover should not take place because the prospects of success are limited, or quite simply, there's no way to do it, then they will move to a different assertion of control, indirect or by staying in a position of withdrawal. Accordingly, to meet the suggestion that Harry's wife wants to reach out to Kate Middleton, according to Soap Spoiler, she'll have had to have come up on her radar, hoover trigger, highly likely that that would occur, and the hoover execution criteria would have to be made out. That is less clear. The information states, Royal Family News suggests that Harry's wife wants to reach out to her estranged sister-in-law. And that's not because she wants to invite her over for tea and avocado toast. Instead, she wants the Princess of Wales to stop meddling in her affairs. Now, pausing there, is there any evidence that the Princess of Wales has been meddling in Harry's wife's affairs? No, there is not. The Princess of Wales, expertly advised, has adopted a no-contact approach to dealing with Harry's wife, having nothing to do with her, not communicating with her, not watching what she's doing, not speaking about her or barely doing so, and trying to drive her from her thoughts. Therefore, to suggest that she's meddling in her affairs does not sit with the actuality of the way that the Princess of Wales is behaving. But could Harry's wife still make such an accusation? Yes, she could. The paranoia and magical thinking of Harry's wife is such that she may, in the same way as she thought that Jill Biden was showing support by wearing a lemon dress, also believe that where things have gone wrong for her, that somehow the nemesis, the Princess of Wales, is behind it. She's briefing against me. She's smearing me. Those of you who have dealt with a narcissist will be familiar with this form of paranoia, whereby, in order to compel the narcissist to behave in a particular way to pursue the prime aims, the narcissism generates the belief that a certain individual is doing things. They're actually not, but that doesn't matter in the mind of the narcissist. They believe that certain things that have happened to them, certain things that have gone wrong, are as a consequence of this individual causing them problems behind the scenes. This is more likely as well with the fact that the Princess of Wales has the status of nemesis. Therefore, Harry's wife's narcissism is going to tell her that the Princess of Wales is the one that's causing you problems, and therefore motivating Harry's wife to take action to assert control over the Princess of Wales. One source, the article tells us, that is close to the situation says that Kate Middleton feels horrible that Prince Harry has had such little contact with his royal family members these last years. That's probably accurate. And of course, she wants to do something about it. But Harry's wife thinks that it's not her business to intervene, especially considering everything that they've been through themselves. Plus, the Duchess of Sussex thinks that Kate has better things to worry about than Prince Harry, and who he might or might not be speaking to. The Insider puts it this way. Kate feels terrible that the royals and Harry are at this current impasse with so little contact between them. She blames Harry's wife for it almost entirely, and the longer it goes on, the more it upsets and frustrates her. Now, I would suggest that she does feel sorry and terrible that there is an impasse with Harry, and that she does indeed blame Harry's wife for it. But I doubt that she gets more upset and more frustrated by it. On the contrary, she will find life far more easier with Harry's wife not being involved. The tipster added, Kate's let it be known to the palace aides who still speak to the Sussexes that she thinks it's an extremely poor show the way Harry's being treated. But Harry's wife is furious and thinks Kate has no right getting involved in her marriage. She would never dream of interfering between her and William. Well, that's a load of bollocks. Harry's wife has no boundary recognition and a sense of entitlement, and if her narcissism deemed that there was an appropriate gain to be obtained by having an involvement in getting between Kate and her husband, she would do so. I'll leave it up to you whether you believe the content of this article, but it is conceivable that the Princess of Wales has these views about Harry. It is conceivable that the Princess of Wales does indeed feel sorry for him. However, she's not wanting to get involved. But it's also conceivable that Harry's wife will believe that Catherine is meddling, even when she's not, driven by her paranoia. Would this move her to hoover her directly? I think not. I think the Hoover execution criteria would not be made out, with the consequence that she would not be moved to attempt to hoover. Her narcissism would still perceive the risk of being ignored by the nemesis as too great. And for the time being, that would act as a factor to dissuade her from attempting doing so. That doesn't mean it's permanent. Other factors could change that would override that, or the effect of the wounding would fade in time so that her narcissism would forget about it, causing her to potentially hoover in the future. But at the current time, I do not see that such a hoover would take place, and instead, although she may well think in her paranoid mind that Catherine has been slating her and has been casting aspersions at her, her narcissism will lead her instead to complain about it and assert control over her indirectly instead. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.